Welcome back to Scoper's Garage. I'm Scott, your host, working on Mini a little bit again this weekend. Still haven't gotten the high beam figured out, so I'm going to try to map that out and test every component in order until I figure out where the problem is. But so you may remember I converted this to electronic fuel injection. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch those videos. It's an interesting project. It's running pretty well. It was hanging a little bit on dropping the RPMs. I don't know. There might have been an air leak that I might have fixed, so I need to get back to that to fine tune it a little bit. But as part of that, there's a trigger wheel on the crankshaft and a sensor to get that feed off the wheel. And to fit all that, I had to remove the compressor, the AC compressor. I'm getting new parts so I can put the AC compressor back on, but since it was off, I figure I might as well rebuild it. And so here it is. I've gotten just this, whatever this is, off so far with a tool from the Advanced Auto, to be specific. This is a Nippon Denso GP134, as you can see back there upside down. But at any rate, that's the model. There's a good video that I'm using as a reference for a GP148, which looked the same, and so far it is the same. I'm not sure how far that's going to go. I see the key here, so that looks different, but similar. I'm sure I'll find a few changes. So yeah, I had to rent a tool to pop this off, the AC compressor puller kit from Advanced Auto. And then so this whole thing's going to come apart. There's a back plate, a center, and a front plate. And this is a manifold that on the one he had, at least separates there in the middle. It doesn't look like this one does. At any rate, I'm taking that off. I'm going to replace all the gaskets, etc., with 134 compatible gaskets. These were really tight. I was afraid they were going to strip out, and they finally broke loose. You can see some of the oil, I guess, coming out from where the hoses hook up. So I cleaned it pretty good, but it's still pretty dirty. Looking forward to getting it cleaned up some more. The next is to get this off. And, oh yeah, there's a, whatever, pinchering thing there. I have a tool for that, but not out here. So I have to go get that. If you haven't seen my other videos about having the garage built, this is the garage. I'll just show you real quickly. I love the lights I did from Home Depot for $200. It's 36 by 16, I think it was. So big enough I can get two cars in, front to back. Hopefully I don't know, hopefully, maybe one day I'll get a lift put in here, and then I can have three cars in here, and I've got a lift in the attached garage. We just got a permit or the approval, the occupancy permit, because the electrical inspection passed, which included patio and pavilion. I'm not going to show you because it doesn't matter. So this is it. Stay tuned. So I'm going to pull that ring out, and then this should come off. And then I think below that there's 4 or 6 bolts, long bolts, that hold it all together. I can pull them out and start separating it. All right, so after getting that off, there's a small spacer washer thing, and then this was held on by this C-clamp there, which went in this groove right there, and then there's another bigger C-clamp down inside there, and then this needs to come off, but I have to go figure out what else I need. I got to get this screw out. I hate screws, Phillips, because I think it's going to round out. Then I'll have to drill and tap it. I hope not have to do that. Stay tuned. Okay, so that just pulled off. Just took a little finagling with. I have to clean all this up. But here are the 6 long bolts that'll let the whole thing come apart. So I'm going to do that, and figure out where to finish this job, because this folding table is not really adequate. I have a table in the basement. Maybe I'll return it down there. It's just the lighting's not very good down there, so got to figure out how to get a better spot. Just a photograph so I can note this bracket goes on the back side. Expected it started stripping out, so I stopped. Fortunately, I was able to get pliers on it and clamp it down, and now I can get it out. Okay, back on the 6P134 AC compressor off my 931 Porsche 924 Turbo. So this is a lot harder than the one I watched on YouTube, which is a 148. Basically, there's 3 Phillips screws in here, and of course I could not get them to break loose. So I tried a number of different tricks, but I ended up having to drill into them and using a back out thing, and then had a heck of a time, but I finally got this plate off. And as you can see, it looks like it's busted up in there a bit. Anyway, this is what I had to get off so I could replace this gasket. And more importantly, probably, I don't know after seeing that, but the washer in here needs to come out this way. So let's see if I can, yeah, this one will just pull out. That's like the inner one, which is busted up a bit. And then there's another one that's above that, I believe, that I need to hammer out. Let's see, I think. I have to look a little closer. Anyway, that was a royal pain, having to drill out those 3 screws, and now I'll have to take them out and go find replacements. Ugh. But I overcame. Okay, so those screws that I had to drill out went through these 2, I don't know, plates I'll call them, and were attached by these small nuts. And there's a thicker one on the top and a thinner one up against the plate. Okay, an update on the AC compressor rebuild from my 81931. I have everything torn apart, and these plates had the gasket on the back side. Sorry, a little close there, huh? I soaked this in white mineral spirits overnight out in the freezing cold garage, and it still seemed to have worked pretty well, so they scraped off pretty easily today. So I'm doing the other one now that I know it works pretty well. Don't be a dope like me and take those flathead screws out. I had to drill them out, all 6 of them. None of them would break loose, but as it turned out, I didn't have to anyway. These plates were attached to the covers, this one to the front and the other one to the rear cover. And I couldn't see how to get them apart. And I tried prying a little bit, but you know, I didn't want to mess with the seal. So I drilled them out, and then when I was about to pull the second one off the back plate, for whatever reason, I banged it or dropped it, tapped it, and this plate just came off. So you don't have to drill these out. If you do, number 10 by 32 at a 1/2 inch length fits in just fine. I test fitted them because I couldn't find the metric size, which is a M5, I think, by 0.8. And then I wanted to show you the kits I'm using. So this is the one with the big gaskets and the O-rings, all for R134 MT2139. And there's all but one of the O-rings. And then the other one is the shaft seal kit, which is this one, MT2039. Yep. And that comes with the 2 gaskets and these things here. So these are the crush washers that go on these long bolts that hold the whole thing together. They both came with those 6 washers, so no big deal. But just know if you get order both, you'll get 2 sets. This gets pressed in, and then this gets pressed in. I have to go watch the video again. I'll try to put a link to my post of the guy I followed who built a 6P148. Did a really good job. Seems to know what he was doing. And these were highly similar. The only thing I've noticed different is that there was one dowel on each of the covers on this, and on his there were two. So I didn't see these plates, these plates on his, but that doesn't mean anything. I'll go watch it again. Maybe they're there and I missed them. Anyway, it's pretty cool to see it all apart. These pistons go up and down, are being pushed by this, which is the shaft. And so tomorrow I should have the other of these metal plates cleaned of its old gasket and can put the new gaskets and start putting it all together. Take care. Thanks for watching. Okay, I finally got the gaskets cleaned off these plates for my AC compressor 6P134. I used white mineral spirits, I think it's called, and had to scrape and soak, I think 3 or 4 times to get the material off. I also went around the edges where there was still at least some coloration from the gaskets with a scouring pad, which is this here. And I just picked this up from Napa, my local Napa auto parts store. I had to order it actually to reassemble this. So basically everything is going to get some of that on it. The O-rings, these pistons with their balls and caps, the gaskets once they're put on, I said the O-rings, and the guy I've been following on YouTube who did a 6P148 in his Mustang said that you should handle this with gloves, and I've already handled it a bit without gloves, so I'm gonna get some gloves and rinse this real good in either acetone or methanol to get any grease or oil from my hands off of this before I install it. And this, I will wear gloves when reassembling everything, so make that simple. In case I didn't show this before, you don't have to drill these out, but if you do, a number 8.5 inch length fits perfectly. I test fitted the bolts through each of these little flapper valve things, and they fit fine. So wish me luck on the reassembly. I'm going to replace this wire that I cut to get the thing off the car. It's pretty stiff anyway, so reassembly is about to commence. I might take some pictures during the process, so stay tuned. Okay, here's a couple differences with the 6P134 versus the 148. Well, first of all, I found it a lot easier to put the plate with the gasket on before the O-ring, so that's a much better order. Secondly, this seal on his drove from the inside, but on this car it's going to drive from the outside. There was no way that fits in there. So I'm going to find a socket that'll fit that nicely and tap that in. It should just go in with very little effort. In fact, I might try it by hand first. Anything else? It's kind of interesting putting the 3 pistons and shaft in the back section. It's not that hard though. You figure out, get 2 of them in there, and then have the plate, the swash plate with a high spot, and you slide the 3rd piston on that high spot, and then you can just kind of wiggle it down into place.